Hello, my name is Imogen and I'm going to talk to you now about the transactional model of stress in relation to unhealthy behaviours. This model of stress is something that helps us to understand the process of why we decide that we find certain situations stressful. I'm going to help you understand this now by showing you a brief interview.
Hello, Julie.
Hello.
So what is it you do as a job?
I'm a nurse.
Okay. And would you say that this is a stressful job?
Yeah, it's very stressful.
And why is that?
It's very demanding. You're on your feet all day. Usually quite short-staffed, and we don't get many breaks.
Okay. So in terms of negative health behaviours, what would you say that this stressful job kind of makes you do?
Well, I don't eat that well, really. I'll just snack on things. I've started smoking again, mainly as an excuse to get me off the ward, and I'll definitely have a glass of wine when I get in. But then I don't really sleep because I'm worried about the next day's shift. And working shift patterns can unsettle your sleep pattern.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
The transactional model of stress is based on a person's transaction between themselves and their environment. It is based on the idea that stress occurs when we feel there is an imbalance between resources and demands. The model outlines that an individual's approach to stress is about how a person appraises the situation. Appraise means to assess the value or quality of. I'm going to illustrate the model now. Stressors are the things that cause us to feel stressed. They are the things or demands that we may experience that upset a balance we are used to. It could be a change in the environment around you, or it could be something internal. These stresses that make you feel unbalanced may affect you psychologically, and sometimes we will feel the need to take action to restore our balance. When a person is faced with a stressor, they would firstly evaluate it to see if it holds a potential threat. They will consider and judge how significant the stressor may be, how much control and power they have over it. Or perhaps its irrelevance. This is called primary appraisal. If a person finds the stressor irrelevant or finds the stressor as a positive thing, it will not bring the individual stress. So this is no perceived threat. However, if the individual does perceive it as a stressful thing, they will go to a secondary appraisal stage. This means the person will assess if their self-coping abilities and resources are enough to overcome the challenge or threat. So that would be secondary appraisal. If the person has assessed their coping abilities and feel they have the resources to manage the stressor, the individual will not feel threatened or stressed. So this will be no threat or neutral. We see this as a positive stress. However, if they do not feel they have the resources to cope and manage with the stressor, they will perceive it as a threat. At this point, a person's coping mechanisms will come into play. This is the point where the individual will decide how they are going to manage their problem. This is also a time where unhealthy behaviours may occur. So we've had a look there at how we decide if we find certain things stressful. Now let's have a look at why stress is so bad for you and why it leaves you vulnerable to disease. Though, some of the diseases we become vulnerable to due to stress are because of the choices we make. Like in my example video, when Julie was stressed, she turned to smoking, high alcohol consumption, poor sleep and poor diet. All these correlate highly with diseases such as cancer, heart disease and many others. I wonder if you are doing with Julie. So what's my message here? Everybody feels stressed at some point. How about trying to learn and decide more carefully about if something is really worth being stressed about? Also, stress is no excuse to make unhealthy behaviours. If you do feel stressed, try something else to relax. I hear exercise releases lots of happy hormones.